Good morning. Grade 10, welcome back. Hope you had having a nice week. Today we're changing things up just a little bit. We're going full asynchronous today. Just kind of a change of pace, and I'm actually kind of curious about what you guys feel about moving to maybe a few more asynchronous class lessons ahead. So today's just sort of a day to do, there are a couple of activities I'd like you to go ahead and complete on your own. Just so you know, I will be available on Zoom for the full class today. So if you have any questions about any of the activities that we're doing, you could feel free to just jump on our link and I will be there. So don't feel free to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. So that being said, let me just kind of quickly run through the agenda for today, and I'm having just a mini lesson on two concepts. First one first is in all of the questions, everything that you're going to go ahead and answer will be on our Google form, and that's going to be your attendance. You can find that on the very last slide. So just please make sure that you complete that attendance for today. First activity is the Philippines Department of Tourism, and basically what I would like you to go ahead and do is, based on what we have read from Jamaican Kincaid's A Small Place and her general attitude towards tourism, do you think she would approve of this tourism video, and why? So you will want to go back into the text and find an example or two to help defend your argument. Okay. There's a video actually from the Oregon State University that I would like you to go ahead and check out about this concept called stream of consciousness. And I'm going to go ahead and let the professor there kind of explain out what that is. But it is very much prevalent in Kincaid's work. And just to show you an example, because I'm going to have you guys go in and find an example yourselves. And just FYI, it's not that hard. There's a ton of examples in the text. But just so that you kind of get a gist of what the stylistic choices that Kincaid uses and employs in her text helps dictate a lot about the sense of tonality in the piece and her general intent, what she's trying to get across to us. And we already know that, she really dislikes tourists because there are some roots in tourism and colonialism. Go ahead and watch this video, put this video on pause, and then check this one out, and then we'll come back here. Okay, so I'm assuming you've done that. So this is an example. This comes from page 16. But one day, when you are sitting somewhere alone in that crowd, and that awful feeling of displacedness comes over you, and really, as an ordinary person, you are not well equipped to look too far inward and set yourself aright, because being ordinary is already so taxing, and being ordinary takes all you have out of you. And though the words, "I must get away," do not actually pass across your lips, you make a leap from being the nice blob just sitting like a boob in your animatic sack of the modern experience to being a person visiting heaps of death and ruined feelings, life inspired, the sight of... See... So what we have going on in this piece is basically, you'll notice the punctuation, a lot of commas, maybe a couple semicolons, not a lot of definitive periods, not a lot of punctuation that kind of ends the sentence. And the idea here is that Kincaid is just sort of throwing ideas out at lightning pace. And because of this, you kind of get a feeling of the fact that because she just has so much to say, and because you kind of, she refers to the tourist as being, I think, like a boob and a blob, and being a person whose body is stinking. This is rage. This is like pure unadulterated rage. And so you can kind of imagine like being angry yourself, and you're angry at someone, and maybe it's just like you're just riffing, you're just saying all these things, and it's just sort of spewing out of your mouth. And that's kind of the stylistic choice of stream of consciousness, and that's what Jamaica Kincaid is doing here. It doesn't really have the same formal structures as like an essay does. It's very much a creative, stylistic choice on her end. So you're going to go ahead and check out an example yourself, and again, pretty easy, right? Juxtaposition is when we place two things together, and as a result, they create a contrasting effect. And again, lots of examples in the text. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and find at least one example that you can find, because she does this to great effect. Last class, I had you guys break out into groups, and I had you guys talk a little bit about examples of binary opposition, right? Two contrasting ideas, right? Very much like juxtaposition, but again, they're based on concepts. So we came across this particular text, and in this very first one, right? This is talking about the tourists being at the hotel and kind of looking out, and they're experiencing lobster at dinner, and they're looking at the beautiful horizon. And then I kind of cut off here, but they're basically talking about the beautiful ocean, beautiful beach, and that's kind of what the tourist sees. That's the perspective of the tourist. And then contrasting that, Kincaid talks a little bit about the sewage disposal system and the fact that there's junk, there's crap floating around in the ocean, that maybe the tourists will bump into, and the contents of your lavatory might graze gently against your ankle as you wade carefree in the water. Oh my goodness. Lots of use of imagery here. It's pretty gross, pretty grotesque. But we talked a little bit about in our groups how there's a contrast here in terms of perspective. The tourist sees what they want to see. They're sort of disengaged from reality, right? And so it's the appearance, it's the beauty, the nice oceans, right? All that nice stuff versus the actual reality of Antigua is that like their beaches are just getting absolutely destroyed by tourism, right? Trash is just all over the place. It's in the water, and it makes it really unappealing for maybe even some of the locals to go swimming. And a couple of us also talked a little bit about the binary between rich versus poor. Is that to be able to go to a nice hotel like this, I mean, you do need to have money, right? Like there's a privilege with being able to travel, whereas here, this is kind of representative of the poor nature of Antigua. So that's juxtaposition. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and check out some other examples. And the last activity for today is I would like you to go ahead and finish reading A Small Place to page 19 and go ahead and complete the attendance. Now, if you really did like this, and this is one of Mr. Reed's favorite texts, but if you did enjoy this text, you are welcome to go ahead and keep reading, because if you notice, there are more than one text or essays. It's actually 4 essays. It's a compilation. I think number 2 is really good. That's up to you, though. I'll kind of I'll put that ball in your court, and you're welcome to read on. We're just going to be reading number 1, part 1. So that's it for today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to check out, go on the Zoom link, and we'll chat. All right. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you.